today we're joined by Stuart Austin. Today we're going to talk about your part of the heavyweight roster for Team London in the newly announced Global Fight League. Tell us about how that came about and what was it about the GFL that interested you?
I got a call one evening from Carl Prince, who's heading the team up. And he said, I've known Carl for a while. He's been an opponent for me as a coach. A couple of his guys have beat a couple of mine, a couple of mine have beat his. We've always had a good mutual respect. I've got a great relationship with him. And he basically said that he thought he had a good opportunity for me. He said a new show coming up. And he thought, at the moment, he thought I'd be, a really good fit for it, with my kind of level of experience and, the level I've been competing at. And at the moment, he knew I'd just got out of my last contract with Octagon, so he thought it'd be a good time for me to sign up for kind of an exciting new show. But yeah, so I kind of he told me the team format, gave me a rough explanation, and I thought I just thought it'd be something different, something exciting, something not everyone's going to get to do, in their careers. So yeah.
Yeah, and what were some of those? You said you'd just finished your contract with Octagon at that point. What were some of the options you were exploring at that time before the GFL came about?
Well, to be honest, I was kind of I'd reached out to a lot of people. I had some offers for a few different shows, and I was kind of in multiple. I had some shows in Europe, some shows in Asia that were interested in me. But kind of I'm at a point now where this it has to be interesting. I'm kind of at a stage in my career where I don't just want to take fights for the sake of fights. I want to it has to have kind of something that kind of piques my interest. So I was told, some of the fighters who are rumored, some of the UFC veterans in GFL, some big, obviously some absolutely huge names. And for me, it's a fun, there were interesting fights, fun people to test my metal against, and it's there's some huge names who are a bit older, and then there's some guys who are kind of more challenging fights for me. So yeah, honestly I just thought it'd be exciting, and the money's good as well, so that also helps.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, like you said, going through that heavyweight roster, there's some big names, legends of the sport in there. Who are some of those guys you would like to be matched up against?
Honestly, at the moment, because there's I think it's four former heavyweight champions. So you've got Frank Mir, Arlovsky, Verdum, and who am I forgetting?
You got Dos Santos.
Dos Santos as well, yeah. So I'm kind of to my mind, Dos Santos is kind of still the most relevant one of those guys. So he'd be an awesome fight. And then in some of the younger guys, they've got Robelis de Spania is there, and obviously it's kind of the opposite way around. Rather than me being I'm the older one, I'm the more experienced guy, so that'd be interesting. He's still got a lot of heat. I know he got bounced from the UFC, but he's got a lot of heat, so I think I could roll him over pretty easily. So it'd just be fun, man. I'm nowadays I'm kind of in the sport to have fun, and do some take opportunities that are a bit more interesting. I'm not looking to work my way up and slowly battle my way in the kind of more conventional path that a lot of people are looking for. So now I'm looking for challenges, interesting challenges. And when I saw some of the names on the list, I'd kind of they told me some of the people they were looking at signing, and some of the young guys I thought would be exciting fights, and some of the older guys would be cool names to have on my resume.
Yeah, definitely. Loads of fun fights across that heavyweight roster. And like you said, there's four former UFC heavyweight champions in that realm. Who do you think is the most dangerous guy in that heavyweight division?
At the moment, some of the heavyweights are older, but someone like Junior Santos, he's he's definitely past his prime, but he's 40, 41, I think.
Yeah.
He's still young enough. He's still going to be able to hit. He knows what he's doing. He's, you're not going to want to take a right hand off Junior Santos, at any point in your life. So he'll still be dangerous. I think potentially Bruno Capelosa, good Brazilian heavyweight, former PFL champion, a guy who actually I took a loss to in the PFL. I wouldn't mind fighting him again because There were some weird circumstances behind that fight for me. So like I would love the chance to get another crack at him. So yeah, so like probably Bruno would be exciting. Junior Dos Santos would be exciting. Um, yeah, it's kind of one of them ones. Like I imagine Bruno's probably kind of the boogeyman at the moment for a lot of people. But I think I would again, even though he beat me before, I think I'd match up fairly well with him now. Right now, I'm kind of with everybody. I'm excited to fight everyone. I know they just announced that they've changed the teams round. With Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold. So I think they're going to hope to put that matchup together again, which I think will be exciting for everybody. So even some of, like with some of those older guys, they can match them up together. So they don't necessarily have to fight the guys who are, in their primes, and have some fun stylistic matchups.
Yeah, like you said, I was just about to mention that as well. We've just recently seen Luke Rockhold be drafted to another team, so we could get that rematch of that great fight. And obviously we haven't mentioned yet, but this works as a team event really. You're all scoring points for the overall team, and that's how the tournament will be won at the end. And so if I gave you the option to draft anybody else in from another team into Team London, who you think's really going to help you guys? Who do you think you would bring in?
Oh my God, I have no idea who's. You're putting me on the spot here. To be honest, we've got a pretty good team. We've got some really experienced guys, but they're really experienced guys who aren't super old, and they're not, like someone like Musasi. He's still, he's probably had 60, 70 fights plus his kickboxing, whatever. But he's only like a couple of years older than me, so and he's still relevant. He's still fighting good guys at a high level. So it's like, I'm not. I think we've actually got one of the stronger teams. Our team is probably like, obviously we've got a few big names, but like Benson, Henderson, and Musasi. But like our team is probably one of the teams with like the smaller names, in terms of star power. But actually, I think we've got one of the stronger teams in terms of actual fighting ability, which is kind of what we want, because we want to get into that kind of like they're after the sort of regular season, they're doing the finals. We want I want the extra fights. I want to get paid more. I want to win more fights, win more money, take more names. And obviously as a team we want to win. So yeah, so for me it's like I actually think we've got a very, very solid team. London has at the moment. We've got lads like Brett Johns. Brett Johns is as good as anyone in the world. We've got plenty of guys on our roster who are going to be a handful for absolutely anyone in the world.
And we've seen the GFL roster, when they announced it, did come under some criticism from people regarding the age of some of the fighters. And do you think that was fair?
I mean, what are people criticizing? Like, realistically, I understand guys are older, but if you think about it, like if they weren't announcing big names, UFC and PFL has 98% of the big names in the sport who are the 28-year-olds and stuff. And if you want to make a big splash, you've either got to build a roster over years and years and years, or you're going to bring people in, who are established and already built. And no one's holding a gun to these guys' heads. Like people are choosing to fight. Like I'm getting paid good money, so I believe they're probably getting paid. The money I wish I was getting paid. You know what I mean? Like they're probably getting paid very well. And we'll see. Some of these guys, like Junior Dos Santos and Fabricio Verdum have both fought. They fought on Masvidal's bare knuckle MMA show recently. And a bunch of the old guys have, they might not be maybe at the 100% prime, but they're still active. They're still competing at a good level. They're not just, falling over in 12 seconds. So I'm kind of mixed on it. I understand where people are coming from, but would you rather just get a bunch of, like guys who've had 4 fights and nobody's heard of and probably aren't that good anyway, or would you rather get proven guys who people want to watch? It's exciting matchups. We're getting. You're going to get potential fights that, people want to watch, and they're going to put it together and going to make it happen. I think the team format adds a bit of fun. A lot of people who are not been in the sport as long as me won't remember a thing called the IFL, but the IFL was really cool. It was a fun event. People liked being, It's a different type of team show, but people like being on the teams, and a lot of big names were actually kind of born out of the IFL. You got guys like Roy Nelson and Ben Rothwell came out of the IFL, and amongst many others. But you got some really good guys who came out of there. So I think I'm kind of like with these things. I think the potential is absolutely huge. I think they're reaching for the stars. And if they miss and hit the moon, that'd be really cool. That'd be really fun. But if you want them to aim low, if they miss low, then you're gonna have nothing. Why not go and make it big and make it fun? And if they didn't have any of those names, would we be having this conversation right now?
No,
You
you're
know, we
yeah, you're absolutely
it's
right. It made
obvious.
it made the headlines, made a splash, and got everybody in the MMA community talking about that roster announcement. So
Everyone was excited. Like people are excited. Even it's the classic thing. Like if you want to talk shit, just see where it is, watch it before, make your judgments. I'm sure there's going to be some old guy fights, and it's going to be horrendous. But you know what? There's some of those terrible old fights are terrible, but also fun. Like they can be really fun. Why can't a couple of 45-year-olds, like fight? Roy Jones and Mike Tyson the other year, like obviously Mike's declined a little bit since then, but Roy versus Mike was a really fun fight. Loads of people watched it. So I think I'm kind of like I'll wait to see how the show pans out. Um, so far it's still a bit up in the air. We'll see what happens with it. But I think like they're trying to do things. They're trying to take chances in the sport, and if you want everyone to play it safe, then we can just have the sport as it has been, kind of like for a while. But if you're not the UFC, you have to take chances. You have to try things. And quite often people like it. People do like some of these events. People enjoy some of the crazy things, and like let's just mix it up, like mix up the status quo, so to speak. It'll be fun. They're gonna be doing, I think, 6 regular season shows, with all 6 teams, and then there's gonna be 2 postseason. The kind of semis and the finals. Um, and so there's gonna be 8 more really good level MMA shows added to our year. Um, all people bitch and moan about how there's no names and how this card's not good and that card's not good. Well, like most of the guys on these cards are names. Huge amount. Like and they're gonna put some fun matchups together, and it's gonna be chaos. What do you want from MMA if it wasn't chaos? I came up, when Pride was huge and the events were wild. So I like wild fights and doing some mad things. Go back on your Fight Path app and look back on some of the fights from 1998 and 1999, 97, and some of the fights are chaotic and wild and mad, and they are awesome. They're
yeah,
absolutely awesome.
a very exciting time ahead. I'd be remiss not to ask you on your Instagram profile. You've written "the man who beat the man." I assume that's a reference to your win over Tom Aspinall back in 2015.
Maybe, maybe not. Like, I mean, like, all I get is people telling me I've got to speak about that, and I'm just like, it's something that happened in the past. So I'll have my little brag on the thing, whatever, whatever. Yeah, why not? I beat him. It's cool. It doesn't matter, he went on to do good things, but also like it's fun. Why not?
Yeah.
Um,
Have you stayed in touch since, trained together since that fight?
Not really, not really. I don't like I've run into his dad a few times. I kind of often see people who, his people around his team, or like I said, I've seen his dad quite a bit. No, I'm good with him. He's fine. Like I'm sure he'll be fine with his millions of pounds and his wonderful, like his lovely everything. While I'm in a one bed flat in London. So
What do you make up of the potential matchup against John Jones this year? If it does happen, do you think he's got the potential to beat him?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like to me, like I know everyone kind of thought John looked great against Stipe, but he looked great against a guy who not won in 4 years and was older than ever. It's hard to take a lot from that fight. I just think Aspinall, it's his time now. I think he's the man right now. I mean, like I post, he's on my my Instagram profile subtly for a reason,
Hmm.
because he's a fucking badass. He's awesome. And I think there's a reason why John's dragging his feet and this and that. And I'm hoping the biggest thing that comes out of it is I hope they both get paid a bunch more money. To me, that's the most important thing for this. Get them both paid. So whoever wins, whoever loses, it doesn't matter. They're both going home. Obviously they both want to win and get that pat on the back, get that kind of credentials in their career. But it's like taking the sport to another level, hopefully.
And so I know you're a coach as well, and you've got one of your fighters, Mario Pinto, fighting on an upcoming UFC card. Tell us a bit about that transition from fighter to being a coach, and is this something that you'll continue doing when you do retire down the line?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is my retirement plan. Well, I say retirement plan. It pays terribly. Um, yeah, so Mario's fighting on the 1st of March. It was meant to be the Manel Cap Royval. I forget who's in for Royval now. It was someone good, but he's young.
Mm.
But yeah, he's on the main card of that. And he's fighting against Austin Lane, who's had a few fights in the UFC now. And it's his debut as a UFC fighter. Obviously, he won the Contender Series with a good knockout. It's my debut as a UFC coach, so it's exciting. Like Mario really is the real deal. I think I think he's got like really good potential as a heavyweight to go all the way to the top. Um, and I just want to, I want to go out there and get him to have a good performance and get the W. And I think realistically we should be stopping this guy. If we fight to our to our ability and to his ability to fight and my ability to coach, I think we can stop Austin. So yeah, I'm excited, man. Like I think like people enjoy Mario's fights. He's people who haven't watched him. People see a few like decisions on his record, and you don't like context is king. A couple of those decisions were in a tournament. The one of them he knocked the guy down 3 times, and maybe didn't get that finish, but it is what it is. He fought 3 times in one night. How many people can say they did
Mm.
that? And the other was a 5-round fight, and I'll be honest, I wanted him to get some rounds in. I wanted him to get comfortable. When do you get the chance to do 5 rounds? And I would rather the first time he did 5 rounds wasn't inside the UFC, so kind of take that as you may. Could he have finished that fight? Yes, definitely. And I think kind of that's almost kind of like kind of cooled people off on him a bit more because he's not a heavyweight with all 100% finishes, and I think that's quite short-sighted of most people to think that way. That's not how I'm kind of trying to develop him and my other fighters. My goal is not to how can you throw as hard a punch as you can, and try and put your chin out. That's when you see some of these guys who have got mad potential come unstuck. We've seen people have been talking a lot this year about all these undefeated fighters getting their
Mm. Yeah.
first losses. I saw last weekend. Oh, what's the lad's name? The Jits lad. Cody Steele.
Oh right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Cody Steele's a really really good fighter, and his jiu-jitsu is incredible. He can strike, but he's not a striker. And you see him banging it out toe to toe, swinging with a guy who's a striker, and he lost the fight. And he got hurt, badly. When to me, it's like, you can go and be the world's most exciting fighter if you want and get a couple of bonuses, and you're going to get a bunch of brain trauma. You're going to get, you're not going to climb up to where you should have climbed to, or you can, fight a little bit smarter. Like we're still finishing fights. All my guys are finishers. But you've got to know how to score points as well, how to win fights, and then, look and take those opportunities to finish on the way. But yeah, for me as a coach, like my goal is to take people and try and take them as high as they can go. And I don't know, how good of a coach I am yet. It will take time for my skills to be tested and my fighters' skills to be tested, but that's kind of the trajectory as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely exciting things ahead. And you fought in some of the bigger organizations around the world that rival the UFC. Do you think it matters as much anymore that getting for MMA athletes to get into the UFC with such great competition around?
It kind of like it's one of those ones where if you're getting paid well, then it doesn't necessarily matter. But it depends what your goals are in the sport. I mean, if your goal is to make some money, then no, there are other options now. The PFL is a great place to make money. GFL, hopefully, if it sticks around, is going to be another good place where money's available. And some of the Russian shows, obviously not haven't really been available recently, but there's decent money out in some of them, and some of the Asian shows there's potentially money. Um, that said, if your goal is to be the world champion, then like there's one place you can be the champion of any other organization. I kind of always personally find it a bit funny when, pardon me, sorry, it says the whatever world champion. You're like, it's a bit funny because it's like obviously the MMA is organized differently to boxing. It's not we don't have separate bodies giving away the world championships, which is good and bad because it means everyone, it's certainly in the UFC, the best fight the best. But it's very hard in the current sport to say anyone else could be a world champion apart from, the UFC champion. Once in a blue moon, like for example, now you might be able to argue about Francis Ngannou. There's a pretty legitimate argument that he's the best heavyweight in the world still. But it's less and less that happens. So it kind of depends what your goal in the sport is. If some heavyweight went into PFL now and beat Francis Ngannou, then more people might be like, well, that guy's the best guy in the world. So that's their kind of goal in the sport. But I think a lot of people, they're not doing it necessarily just in terms of finances. It's about, trying to achieve a goal, and that goal is to be the UFC champion. So it's kind of, it's mixed. It's mixed. Like I've never fought in the UFC. It wasn't my choice. I fucked up a few times. But it's it's that's something I definitely have kind of missed out on. And my career's not over yet, so you never know. But like right now, I'm being treated well, so why would you, bite the hand that feeds you? And I think as time goes on, you're seeing more people like Paul Hughes now in PFL. When he left Cage Warriors, I'm sure he had an offer from the UFC, and he decided to take the PFL option. He's done tremendous there. He looks absolutely incredible. He's looking, his level from Cage Warriors, like he fought some great guys there and looked good, and then he's gone to the PFL and just looked like an absolute world beater.
And so, yeah, as you were talking about your overlooking back at your career, finally, where would a win at the GFL, over a winning of the league, rank amongst your sporting accomplishments?
Honestly, if we, our team was to win the league, assuming that I've won a few of those fights and actually contributed, then it'd probably be the crown achievement at the moment. I'm hoping to, potentially I could be doing 4 fights this year if we did go to the semis and the finals, and working out the way that's gonna, way that pans out, because it kind of, the logical thing is for me and Tanner, who's my heavyweight teammate, is to split the first 6 fights, month by month. He does one, I do one, sort of that, every other. And then probably one of us does the semis and the finals. So, if I could win 4 fights in a year, and we win the team championship, that'd be, by far the best thing that happened. Best in many, many ways. It'd be an absolutely huge achievement. It would mean I've beaten some top quality fighters. It'd mean my bank balance is a lot healthier, so, it'd be amazing, and it put me in a great position. So, you never know. Hopefully next year, if GFL do it again, it'll put me in a really, really strong position for next year to possibly come back to them or see what else is available. So, I mean, I'd be really excited for that.
Yeah, like you said, really exciting things to come, and really appreciate your time coming chatting with us and telling us about GFL and how it's all going to work. And we're going to all keep our eyes peeled for it.